Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of Blue Collar Hockey Talk. My name is Wes, and I'm here with my co-host Scott, and we're going to talk Toronto Maple Leafs and the NHL. Coming up in this show, we're going to talk about the return of some of the Washington Capitals from COVID protocol. Some guys are demanding trades. And we're going to hear from West Coast Tim today, and then we're also going to talk. We're going to do Scott's favorite segment, bandwagon jumping. Are you on the wagon, off the wagon? And then also we're going to talk about Connor McDavid, this day in hockey history. But man, we got to start off with those reverse retro jerseys. Scott, what do you think of those?
Well, I see you don't have one on the wall behind you.
No, I do not.
They're brutal, man, aren't they? They're absolutely awful. I don't know. And then looking even at the Edmonton jerseys, I was kind of excited to see their 80s colors, but maybe it was the 80s television screens and we didn't notice how bad they are, or they really messed us up. I think you referred to it as what?
They look like creamsicles, those Oilers.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of this retro jersey thing.
Well, man, I'm not a fan of those two teams. I think the Leafs, there was no contrast in it. And, we're watching this game on TV. I couldn't tell the players apart. I couldn't see the numbers on the jerseys. I couldn't see the names on the jerseys. I couldn't imagine broadcasting that game. You're just like number 15, 16 past the puck. I don't know how they did it, man. Good on them, though.
And I'm glad we're talking about this because something that we're going to be doing through the show, we want to have people write in. We want people to have comments. What do you want us to talk about? So Trevor Jones actually said to us, what about those jerseys? You got to talk about those unis, man. Well, buddy, we are, and we're going to, because they were garbage. I mean, you're looking at the numbers on the back, like you say, blue on blue. That's a great idea. Mm-hmm. Let's do that. Mm-hmm. What? Why?
And you know what? When they first came out and were announced a few weeks ago, I saw the Leafs one. I was like, I don't like it. And then I was like, maybe I was too harsh on them, and I was kind of getting into them more and more as I was looking at pictures of them, as it came out with the players wearing them. But man, not for me, man. They just, you couldn't even see the maple leaf on their chest. There's no contrast. They have the dark blue color around them. You need the leaf to be white. Like this one, the leaf is white. I know it's white on white, but you have the blue around it so you can see it, right? But I don't know what they were thinking.
You're a jersey guy, man, and I like it.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, I got this one from the Sundin era, and so
I can't hang mine up. I'm sorry, and I can't wear it because it's got a Reimer on the back, and I like Reimer, but he's still around. And until he retires, I can't bring the jersey back out. That's just how I roll.
To each their own. I will say some of the reverse retro jerseys on the other teams, they did look pretty good. I'm a fan of the Anaheim Ducks one. It has the cartoon duck on it, which is pretty cool.
Do you like the duck? Is that the one where he's busting through the ice?
Yes.
I want to know what the hell's going on that jersey. Why? Why is it happening? What are we going on?
Fair enough, but you know what? That was kind of fun. It makes it entertaining, I guess. And the thing is, teams like Anaheim, they don't have the rich history of the Leafs. Can you believe the Vegas Golden Knights had a reverse retro jersey?
That doesn't really make sense.
No.
What? Like a bubble in the cloud?
The Vegas Golden Knights reverse retro jersey is red. Golden Knights, the color is in their name.
Yeah, you're right. That kind of missed the mark. I mean, I don't even understand what they're thinking. You know what though? I'm a traditionalist in things. I'm weird. I don't like random and new jerseys. I mean, I like bringing back an old jersey that has been around, like the St. Pat's. That was cool. Mm-hmm. I thought that looked wicked. Or putting on the arenas. That would be a sick jersey to be putting on. I like that stuff. If you have a retro jersey and you have a history to draw into, great. But if you're a 3-year-old franchise in the Vegas Golden Knights, then you should just kind of hang out a little bit. You know what I mean? Maybe get a third jersey, have it an alternate jersey, and you can call it whatever you want, but don't get too crazy here and think that you're doing a throwback jersey.
Do you know what the Colorado Avalanche did for their retro reverse jersey? The Quebec Nordiques. They have the Nordique logo on their chest, and then they have the fleur-de-lis around it. Now, if I was from Quebec City, I would not be happy about that.
Well, that's where I was going to ask. I mean, because my initial thought when I did see it was, wow, that's really cool. I like it, but I like the Nordiques. I just, it holds a spot for me. But yeah, you're bang on. Like Colorado is not, they have taken the Quebec Nordiques from them and have no intentions of ever giving them back.
Oh,
So I don't know. It's like the Carolina Hurricanes ever thinking of wearing a Hartford Whalers jersey. Like it
oh
doesn't
yeah.
make sense to me, man.
I
Like that
think.
has its own storied franchise to its own, you
Mhm.
know, and they're not connected.
Sure. Well, let us know what you think about the jerseys. I'm going to post a link below the video where you can see all 31. They've all been ranked. They have different comments and things about them, but we want to hear from you about which ones hit it and which ones are just awful. Last thing I got to say about these though, the New York Islanders, it's just their jersey. Like they didn't even try, but
They probably
whatever.
just said we don't want to make a garbage jersey, and good for them. I bet you that was a Lou Lamoriello thing, and he's a traditionalist too.
You're probably right, man. When you think of it, when they had their dynasty before the Oilers, it was a very simple jersey, but like they could have brought back the fisherman, I guess, for this one. But yeah,
They already wear it, they
yeah,
already do it once in a while.
yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, enough about the jersey. So Ovechkin came back yesterday, and he scored the overtime winner. So Ovechkin's been cleared as well as Dmitry Orlov, but Evgeny Kuznetsov and goalie Ilya Samsonov remain in quarantine. Man, those COVID caps, they just can't get out of
COVID
their own way.
caps. I love it. Did you
Yeah.
coin it the COVID caps?
I think I did. Well, I'll trademark that one.
I like it, buddy. That's a good one. Yeah, they're a scary team, man. They didn't miss a beat without those guys,
Nope.
you
No, I
know,
think
and
yeah, they're
and then
they're
they get
leading their
those guys
division.
back in. That's
Yep.
unbelievable. Like they're a solid team. I'm hoping that I said in our first show that they were my pick to come out of there, and I hope I said that they might even make it to a cup final. But my memory sucks, and we'll have to go back and check that out.
Oh, I got the notes. We'll go back eventually and compare them. But you know what was crazy about last night? Like I said, Ovi scored the overtime winner within 12 minutes of real time. Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin, and Connor McDavid all scored overtime winners.
That is pretty unbelievable. I mean, like you've got three generational players showing up within what? Within 12 minutes of each
12
other.
minutes of real time. Yeah.
The stars aligned last night.
Yeah. Yeah. They absolutely did. And the other thing that came out of last night's news, a couple guys are wanting trades. Montreal Canadiens defenseman Victor Mete has requested a trade. He's 22. He has been a healthy scratch for all of Montreal's games this season. Apparently, GM Mark Bergevin is saying it's not true. Meanwhile, his agent has come out and said he has requested a trade. And also, Calgary Flames forward Sam Bennett, 24, he's also requested a trade. He's been moved down the lineup, and apparently that's why he's wanting out. Man, Patrick Laine, Jack Roslovic, Pierre-Luc Dubois, these two guys all wanting trades. How do you feel about
It's pretty weird. I mean, I don't know if it's just how I don't think it has anything to do with 2020 circumstances and rolling into 2021. I don't know. It's strange, but it doesn't seem to be out of this world. I mean, like Sam Bennett, you think about it, like he's playing on a team that tries to have very even lines right through the lineup. There's no real top heavy line on that team. So I mean, he feels like a second, third liner at all times, and there's nowhere to go up from there because that's what the whole team's trying to roll as. That's what it seems.
that?
That's what I'm seeing coming in. So Sam Bennett, I could see him wanting more opportunity, I guess. I think that it's strange because I mean I thought that Calgary had a pretty good culture, a good organization. I don't know if there's more to it on that one. Uh, and Pierre-Luc Dubois. I still tip my hat to Torts, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes with Laine. And that's another one that one of our guys that asked to talk about Columbus Blue Jackets. Well, we'll talk about Laine a little bit because I mean, I wonder how that dynamic will go. And these guys, like, I wonder if he knew I'm going to go to Columbus. I'm going to go play for John Tortorella. I wonder if he wouldn't have maybe said, I love Winnipeg. This place is great.
Maybe, but at the same time too, man, like Torts has been around a long time. He's coached some amazing players like LeCavalier in his heyday, Martin St. Louis, Brad Richards, right? Like he knows how to handle these big stars. So, what's Laine going to say to him? And like, Torts will be like, how many Stanley Cups do you have? Oh, right, none. So
I totally understand what you mean. And I mean, I'm not really, I came off there as maybe I'm knocking Torts a bit, but I'm more knocking Lane. I think that I don't know if he's going to be strong enough to be able to take that kind of an atmosphere, because he's going to be held accountable at all times. I'm not talking about while he's on the ice. He clearly gets held accountable. Ask Pierre-Luc Dubois, who gets accountable. When are you held accountable? In the dressing room, on the bench, in between your shifts, just as much as when you're on the ice. It could be the best thing that happens to Lane, if you really want to be honest. And if he is open to this move and goes in there with his eyes wide open, Torts could actually be the coach that guy needs. And who knows, like, you got a 40-goal scorer that needs a little bit of grooming. And if he's listening, he's got somebody that can groom him.
Oh, for sure. Like, but when I think of these guys asking for trades, I personally don't have a problem with it. Like, their careers are only so long, right? And if you're not happy in a situation, ask for a trade. And they know fully that, like, they might not be in the best position after they ask for a trade. Like you said, I'm sure Laine wasn't thinking, if I ask for a trade, I'm going to Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you on that. Their careers are short, but the thing is being a traditionalist, I'm used to seeing guys put in the time. You've just made the NHL. You've put in the time to get there. There's a little bit more time to go. You've got your entry level contract to play through. Don't sign beyond that unless you know what you're doing. But it's really in the entry level contract that I feel like I wherever you get drafted, I feel like you should go play. And I know that sounds unreal. And I mean, if you're a fan of Eric Lindros, and if you're listening, Mr. Lindros, then I didn't agree with that either. I just think that they should put in their time. You ask where you go when your contract's up. You put in your 3 years. That's me, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's that is the way that it has been done in sports for a really long time. You've been drafted, you put in your time and stuff, but I just think it's like, change is good in my opinion, right? And I like when there's more to talk about other than just like the wins and losses. Like, I kind of like having a little bit of story to it, and hearing like, oh, so and so's asked for a trade and so wants to be moved, or they're not getting along with the coach and whatever. Like, man, it gives us content to talk about. So I'm all for it.
I guess I'm really just being a fool with it. I just, and everybody's going to have a different circumstance, like, it's not always just because it's sour grapes. Sometimes there's not an opportunity there. And that makes sense. Like Sam Bennett, I could see it. That makes sense. Lane, I guess he wasn't really begging to go out of town or nothing, but I mean, in all fairness, he wrote a pretty nice letter back to Winnipeg and the team, Yeah, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. Every situation is going to be different. I probably had one in mind when I was going on my rant there, but in all fairness, if you're Bennett, if you can go and get onto a team that's in need of a little bit more ice time for you, then you can show your skills. You can develop even that much more.
Let's move on from that one. We got some thoughts from West Coast Tim, man. What's he got to say today?
So I'm going to put on my my radio voice here. West Coast Tim says, I don't think this team has even scratched the surface of what they are capable of. It's hard to critique 7 out of possible 8 points out west. Been enjoying them grinding out wins. Freddie looks confident in coming up with some big stops. I really like what I saw from the fourth line last night, getting it in deep and cycling in the offensive zone. I'd like to see 5-on-5 play get better. Too slow and sticking to the outside. Well, let's hope the couple days rest will allow them to reset. Tim, man, thanks always, as your contributions are awesome. I love hearing your thoughts. What do you think about those, Wes?
Well, I can't agree more. 7 out of 8. If you told me that before the trip started, I'm like, sign me up. Like, I'll take it. I don't care any way it goes. Just, I'll take it. I do think they've been really good at grinding out wins, man. Like, we were just looking at the stats before we started recording, and all of their games have been within 2 goals. So they're not killing teams like 7-5 or 7-4 or 6-1 like they were last year. So I think it's good to see a change that has been steady for 10 straight games.
I also think that it speaks wonders, and it speaks volumes to the strength of our division and what we're going to see continuing for the next 46 games. Like, we've got 10, 11, 12 games deep on some teams here, and they're all pretty close games unless it's Vancouver against Ottawa.
Yeah,
And
I do think the Leafs, this has been a problem for them for years. I honestly think they either play up to their opponent or down to their opponent. So if they're playing really good teams more often, they're going to play better. And like that is just my opinion, whatever. But I really think that motivates them to perform better against really good players.
I do too, and I think that I think it's great actually that we've got McDavid to play against as often as we do, because it was unbelievable watching him play on the ice last night. Like that goal that he came up through the center of the ice, I bleed blue and white, and I tip my hat off. I was watching that goal with my girls, and I turned and I looked at them and I just said, "That is Connor McDavid. That's him. Like that's unbelievable. Like look at him." And Taryn looked at me and she said, "Like, but it looks like he has a smug smirk on his face." I went, "It's probably because he's thinking, holy smokes, that was pretty cool." Because it was really neat to see as a hockey fan. And it seems to be against the Leafs that these highlight reel goals are coming up.
I think that goal could be up for goal of the year, but who knows? The season is young. Well, let's actually get into the game. So it feels like a long time ago, but last Thursday on the 28th, the Leafs, when they beat the Oilers 4-3, what'd you think of that one?
I thought that it was a great game. Like I love the tempo of it. I think that our specialty teams are awesome right now. I mean, that feels phenomenal. Like they're clicking at like a 40% rate on the power play. That's impressive stuff. I think Calgary is a great team to play against because it's fun. Like it's just exciting hockey. But you know that you have to spot McDavid and Draisaitl some points. So we needed those 4 goals to win, and it's the first of 4. And we went there the first, or on that first game we're talking about here, with our 4-3 win, and then Edmonton bounces back the next, right? So I thought that first game was great. What about you?
I really liked that first game. I thought it showed a lot of character with the Leafs because they were up 2-0 and they allowed the Oilers to get back in. And I say allow, but there were a lot of penalties in that game. Some were a little ticky tack, but it is what it is. And when they let the Oilers tie it, they didn't put their tail between their legs and give up like they have in previous years. They came back and as soon as it was tied, Wayne Simmons scores, put the Leafs back up, and then Cassian scored, tied again. And I liked how the Leafs just went for the win, and Matthews got that game-winning goal, and they were able to lock it down for the rest of the period.
I loved it too. Yeah, I loved it too. I mean, I just feel like there's, a few years ago when you felt like there was something special around the team. That feeling was kind of, that pixie dust was starting to fade a little bit for the last year and a half or two, and I'm feeling it a little bit again. You can see it on their faces. You can see it along the bench. You could see it when they're getting on and off the ice. I don't know, like you've got Campbell back tapping every time that he's on the ice after every single play, and I feel like there's a good culture in the room right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I definitely think you're right. There has been a little bit of a culture shift, and I think it's really good. Like even in last night's game, that 4-3 overtime loss, man, it was a great game. It was entertaining, fast. The stars came out to play, right? Like Draisaitl scored, McDavid scored 2, Matthews scored, Marner was flying around the ice. Like it was awesome.
Man, how awesome was it even to get that point with that save by Anderson at the end of the third? Holy smokes. I wish that we could have got that extra point for him because wow, what a stop.
Man, and me too, eh? I'm always like the last minute of the period, I'm like the Leafs are gonna give one up, and they did that in the first, but in the third, like when Freddie made that save, that was highway robbery, man.
Got me out of my seat. I was standing. I legit jumped up, and that was fun. But speaking of that overtime period in last night's game, what are your thoughts about Matthews starting on the bench?
I see the strategy behind it, of being like, let's put out Tavares, Nylander, and Hall, and get and you're assuming you're going to win the faceoff, right? Because Tavares is that good, and he did. And then Nylander almost won the game, right? It was a toe save, and And if they won, then no one would be questioning this decision at all, right? And it just happened that it didn't go in, and then it's 3-on-3 hockey, and the Oilers went the other way, Draisaitl to McDavid, and it's over. Like, because it didn't work, we're gonna say he's overthinking it.
I actually think that they were not going to go up the ice with that puck. I feel like the play was to win the draw, bring it back into your own zone for a little bit, and somehow or other get Marner and Matthews back over the boards.
Mm-hmm.
But McDavid didn't let that happen. He hounded that puck. He forced that puck to move. You know, they couldn't just draw up anything. They had to roll with a play. So where I'm thinking is that all game long, you've had this matchup, your line against our line. Matthews, Marner, we're always hopping over the boards when McDavid's over that ice.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have hated to have felt how it would have been them to be sitting on that bench watching that goal go in. I mean, I get the strategy too. And if it worked, we wouldn't even have this as a discussion. We wouldn't have worried about who was on the ice. It would have just been like, it's awesome. But it's just an interesting thought. I personally don't really care. It is what it is. We've got great players to put over the boards. Simple as that. And Tavares is better on the draw, and puck possession's huge in 3-on-3. And you do not want to let McDavid start with the puck. So yeah, man, I get it. Totally do.
Yeah, it's just too bad that they're gonna let that one get away from him. But man, McDavid went into video game mode and he was like, "We're winning this game," and he won it for them.
He has a boost button.
Yeah,
like it just like he makes people look like they're standing still.
Yeah. Well, speaking of McDavid, like the Oilers, though, even though they won, they're 4-6 to start the season. How do you think he feels about that one?
I don't know, man. Like, he's got several great years under him already, and they've made the playoffs once, you know, and that's it. I don't know. Like, how long do you go on a team? Like, and I don't see him ever doing anything, but like, I would be so frustrated if I were him. Like, come on. We're 4-6. We were supposed to be fighting for the top of the division. We are only now looking up, and it's so hard to jump teams in one division. So I could only imagine. But the smile on his face last night when he was scoring goals looked very pure, very genuine, very much like, I don't think that they're too worried right now. So I bet you McDavid's probably not. He's not splitting hairs right now, but I bet you he's pretty loud in that dressing room, pretty demanding of his co-players. I can only imagine. Like, he seems like he's maybe that quiet leader, but I bet you he demands a lot from his teammates.
Well, like, and it's good that he has like a co-star with him. Like, Draisaitl and him are two of the best players in the league. So if one's not good, the other one can be. But like, man, I could just see, like you said, they're so frustrated. I hope he's demanding more from the team. But next year, when some players their contracts are up, if they're not good next year, who knows what's going to happen the year after that? Because they have the opportunity to really rebuild that team as of this coming up off season.
Well, in all fairness, if we were one of those shows that wanted to do that whole if and when talk, we're not going to go too far into it, but this is just this little thought. Imagine everybody saying, you know, a couple of years from now, Matthews might not stay. Well, that could coincide with an unhappiness of McDavid. Anyways, we're not going there. We're not doing that. But I'm just, anyway.
Just imagine, eh?
Imagine.
All right. Well, I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk about Connor McDavid on this podcast. But let's move on to your favorite segment.
Off the wagon?
I think it's off the wagon.
I think it's on the wagon.
So in this segment, we pick a few teams that are on streaks one way or another, and we just go over our opinions of, are you going to be on the fan bandwagon, or are you going to jump off the fan bandwagon? So let's start off with the Vancouver Canucks. 4 wins in a row after their horrible start, but 3 of them were against Ottawa. Are you on that bandwagon, or are you going to jump off that bandwagon?
Depends on how much you think momentum and confidence does for a team over the actual talent that's on the roster. I think they'll meet somewhere in the middle, man. Like, I'm not getting on the Vancouver bandwagon. I still see them being in the bottom 4 of the division. I don't see any reason to be thinking that they're going to be fighting for the top 3. Like I say, there's going to be a split, right? So we're going to have the top 3, bottom 4. So I see them being in the bottom of that bottom 4 with Ottawa.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you, and I am so far off that bandwagon. Things might change, but I just don't have confidence. Like they won 3 games against Ottawa, but they were getting crushed against Montreal at the beginning of the season. How about moving on to the New York Islanders? Man, they were all the way in the Eastern Conference championship last year, 4 losses in a row. On that bandwagon or off the bandwagon?
I wouldn't jump off the bandwagon. I mean, I
No.
still think that they are a good, solid hockey club. I think they've got from top down. I've got a lot of respect for Lou Lamoriello, and it's not just because he did great in Toronto. He was a legend before he got here. With that, he wasn't perfect all the way through either. But I have faith that team's going to turn that around. I still think they're going to be in the top 4 of that division. 4 losses in a row. They better turn their act around because it's too short a season to go into slides. So it's got to stop there. But I think it'll stop there.
Yeah, I can't disagree more. I am off this bandwagon when it comes to the Islanders. I think the thing is, with this season in particular, teams are going to be ready to play another team, right? Like you're only scouting the other teams in your division, and you're going to be able to break through the defense of the Islanders. Like the Islanders don't have any, besides like Barzal, they don't have any superstars on their team, and I think other teams can just keep pressing and pressing and pressing, and they're going to eventually find a way through, and they'll be able to win, right? Like against Tampa Bay in the playoffs last year, man, the Stars came out and crushed them.
This is true. No, you're right. I can hear you saying, yeah, makes sense, man. But I still don't think that they're going to be a poor team. I think they've got a hard-working club. We'll see, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's keep it in New York. The Rangers, 2-4-2 to start the season. Their number 1 overall pick ended up scoring his first goal the other night against the Buffalo Sabres. So, on the bandwagon or off the bandwagon?
I mean, they're a team that's in a transition. I stay off the bandwagon. I hope the best for the team. I mean, probably because I'm going to buy a couple of boxes of the hockey cards that have a Patrick Lafreniere rookie card in it, just for safekeeping and long term, because I think that he's going to be a solid hockey player, but not yet. He's going to grow in a league on a team that's not expected big things. And I stay off the bandwagon for the Rangers.
And again, I think I'm on this bandwagon, and they made the playoffs. They were going to make the playoffs last year if it wasn't for COVID. I think they have too many stars. They have the bread man up there, and he is amazing to watch him play. And I think they're definitely gonna turn around, and they're gonna make the playoffs. So last but not least, though, the Calgary Flames, 3-3-1 to start the season. They already had a players-only meeting to discuss their horrible start, and because I guess they expect more. Are you on the bandwagon or off the bandwagon?
How did we not connect those dots with Sam Bennett asking for a trade? How did we not do that? I'm getting off the bandwagon. There's problems in Calgary. Like, you have a players-only meeting. There's quite clearly something that I mean, they happen for all sorts of reasons. But when you have one of your young core players asking out of town shortly thereafter, not saying that they're actually directly connected, but what I am saying is that not everybody's pulling the same way, and you only have so long to rectify that. I don't know if they've got all the pieces in place to make that happen. TJ Brody was a key part of that team, and he's not there. I'm off that bandwagon, bud.
I am on the bandwagon. I think they are one of the top 3 teams in the division. I think they are going to turn it around. They played the Leafs, and they lost back-to-back against them, and I thought they looked okay. They didn't look horrible against them, but man, they're still going to play Ottawa a few times. They got to play Ottawa all the time. They have to play Vancouver. I think they're going to turn it around, and when they play Edmonton, they have a certain way of getting underneath the Oilers' skin, man, and like those are going to be games to watch. And I really think they're gonna prove you wrong, and you will be on the bandwagon by the end of the season.
All right. Listen, once again, guys, we want you to put comments onto this video. We want you to send us a message. I don't care how you do it. Are you on or off these bandwagons? Because Wes and we are not agreeing on jack at everything. Yeah, tell us what you're thinking about this too, man.
How about this day in hockey history? You're going to love this one, Scott. In 2004, Pat Quinn earned his 600th career win as NHL coach when he was with the Maple Leafs when they defeated the Ottawa Senators 5-1 at the ACC. He was the fourth coach in the NHL to reach that, and he finished his career with 684 wins, 300 of them with the Leafs. And when I think of the Leafs, it's hard not to think of Pat Quinn, man. Remember him getting pissed off at the ref, like taking the gum out of his mouth and just throwing it at him. It was awesome. He was wicked.
I loved it, and I wonder how many other fan bases can say, and like this is me as a Leaf fan, okay? I wonder how many other fan bases would have passionate fans that would say something like this, When I think about who are some of my favorite Toronto Maple Leafs, like just period, I get into my mind, it's like Pat Quinn, Doug Gilmour, Pat Burns, Matt Sundin. You know what I mean? Like I've got coaches and intermixed with the players. They were awesome. Pat Quinn, I love the guy, man. Like he was great. And I thought actually, if you really want to be honest, think about the futility after Pat Quinn left. Think about the last time that he coached the Leafs. We missed the playoffs by a point. And the reason we missed the playoffs by a point, if we remember, Mr. Lou Lamoriello didn't start Brodeur in their game against the Islanders. In New Jersey, if they would have beat the Islanders, Leafs made the playoffs. But no. The Islanders win. We missed the playoffs by a point. Pat Quinn gets fired. For the first time, he missed the playoffs. And it was the only time that he missed the playoffs as a coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And he got fired. And we went a long time. Have we won a playoff round since then?
No, we haven't.
So do you think if you believed in the Bambino curse, there could be something there, even though there's no actual bad blood by the seam of it with Pat Quinn and the Leafs? But we got to win a playoff round to get that out of my head.
We absolutely do. And man, if they win a playoff round, there'll be a new jersey in my collection. Like I just got to wait until they do something. And Pat Quinn, I remember him too, just when there was a bad call, just being like this on the bench, just beaking at the refs. And even as a player with the Leafs, it's on YouTube when he just absolutely crushes Bobby Orr, just like hits a train, it just stops him and runs right over him. It's amazing. And I recommend everyone to go look that up.
I bet you Brian Burke would probably describe Pat Quinn's game as truculent.
Oh, absolutely. Right. And I think Pat Quinn was one of the guys that hired Berkey, and Berkey worked under him for a few years. I think
you're right.
Canucks,
it was with the Canucks. Yes, you're right. Big time. Yeah. So I mean, Pat Quinn, he didn't just touch the Leafs. He affected all of hockey, Hockey Canada too. I mean, he won gold as a coach for the juniors.
Well, not only that. Remember the Olympics in Salt Lake City? He was the coach there.
This is true.
Remember he pulled Joseph out after the first game loss, and he put Brodeur in. They rode Brodeur the rest of the way to the gold medal. Like that was big news in Toronto about how he just went by his own guy.
Yeah, I thought that was, and you want to know something? That showed what kind of a man he was. He did what needed to be done, what he felt was the right thing to do, and he didn't play favoritism. He had probably his favorites, but it didn't mean you got ice time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I could talk about Pat Quinn so much. Like he just so many memories. Like he was the coach GM for a long, long time with the Leafs, and I think like during those years when they were winning, and when he was coaching the Leafs, I remember being like, I don't need to pay attention to the first round of the playoffs. It's not until the second round that I start to care. Like it was clutch. Like they were gonna win. Like you knew it.
Yeah. He knew what to do to get those boys to tick. That's for sure.
Absolutely, man. Well, how about we review the next game with the Leafs? It's not until Thursday, so there's a break coming up when they play the Canucks in Toronto. It'll be the last team in the division that they play.
I think that the break's going to do the team great. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how we use Hutchison and Anderson moving through it, but I know we're going to stick to the Vancouver game. I think that it's going to be great. I think that Vancouver's going to have time to kind of lose that confidence that they've just built up by coming back down to earth a little bit. And then we'll have some fresh legs with a little bit of rest. It'll be good for everybody because it's been a busy schedule to start. Montreal just had their rest last week, so we get ours this week. And it feels weird. I mean, I like having games every other day, but I also know that it'll be good for the legs.
Yeah, I agree. I think the break will be good. They've been out west for a while. It'll be good for those guys to come back home and have a few days to just like rest and relax. I think they have 1 day off for sure, and then they have an optional skate and then 2 practices. So, it'll be a nice little break for them. I do think it's a winnable game against the Canucks. Like I said earlier, I think the Canucks aren't as good as they look. So, I think the Leafs can have their way with them on Thursday night.
Yeah, very cool, man. Well, we'll see, buddy. Go Leafs, go. Should be a good game nonetheless. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to miss hockey while it's not happening for the Leafs, but it'll give me time to catch up with stuff that's going around the league.
Well, that pretty much wraps it up. Do you have anything else to say before we finish for the day?
No, buddy. I just want to say thanks to everybody for listening, man. And next week, or maybe not next week, we'll see when it's happening. But we're gonna have Jeff Taylor showing up onto our show at some point soon. He reached out, said he's starting to get ramped up and get ready to get podcast mode. So I'm looking forward to seeing him come on. And Tim, thanks again, man, for your thoughts, West Coast Tim, and also out to Trevor Jones and to Dan Irwin as well. Thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated.
Well, yeah, if you like what you hear and see, please subscribe and follow us on Twitter at BlueCollarHT. I just want to say a quick thanks to all of our viewers. Like, we just cracked the 150 total view marks earlier today, and thank you to everyone who is taking the time to listen and support us. So, keep doing it. Tell your friends, and comment. Feel free to comment. Either put it below. I'm sure if you know how to get in touch with us on Facebook or Twitter, please let us know, because we will take your comments to heart, and maybe we might even say your name on the show and do what you say.